Want to do better? Then it's time to change the story. Welcome to our show about new visions currently transforming the world through the confluence of art, tech, and innovation. And now your hosts, Michael Ashley and Neil Sahota.
Welcome to another episode of Changing the Story. We've got a great guest and maybe one of the humblest, funniest guys I've ever met, Todd Gray. He's a 35-year professional fine artist and entrepreneur. Man, a few words, but amazing art that definitely speaks for itself. Todd, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. Thank you very much. It's really nice to meet you, Neil.
Good to have you today, Todd. As a visionary, what is the story that you would like to bring to the world?
You know, I have to tell you, this is very, very poignant, surprisingly, because just recently, I'm getting into branding my work. And we've been thinking a lot about what my story actually is. And then when I read the email, which was what this question was, it was just perfectly poignant, like it was just given to me by the grace of the universe. So basically, I would say that my story is that, I've been doing what I do right now for 35 years. And to do what I do and enjoy what I do, and to be going through life, supported as I am by literally universal benevolence is very much the story that I tell, and very much the story that I want to continue to tell. I've been on a magic carpet ride now for 35 years, and it's just another example. You say, what's your story? Yesterday, I'm thinking, what is my story? Boom, here we are talking about it. It's just insane.
I like that.
Well, Todd, I love this notion of universal benevolence. How are you using your art to make that happen?
Well, to be able to go through life doing what I do for as long as I've been able to do it is, only by the grace of God. I've gone through life. When I decided to become an artist back in the early 80s, it was just like the magic carpet came up, said, here I am, get on. And I've never gotten off. And life has just been pretty amazing. I mean that, honestly. And for many, many years, I just had sort of an open-mouthed awe at the grace that has always dropped into my life. And as I mature, I'm 57 now, and look back on the last 3.5 decades, I have more of an understanding of how the benevolence of the universe actually works. And it's not like I can just tap into it at will, but I do, I've been meditating a long time. I meditate twice a day. I have a spiritual practice that has only deepened over time. And that is really something that I'm very, very keenly interested in because it's fascinating.
I too like that term, universal benevolence.
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about. There are different ways to describe what you're saying, being in the flow, being in the zone. It just feels like other people say, when you're aligned with your vision, it's as if the universe conspires to make sure it happens. But if we could step back a moment, if you could tell us a story about you, Todd, what is your story? What's your background? And who are you as an artist?
Well, I've been a professional artist for the last 35 years, and I've done all different kinds of things. My art has provided me a great deal of freedom to live my life exactly the way I want. I've over the time, I've developed a very unique and individual visual language that I'm really good at what I do at this point, and also. Aside from art, I've started a couple of companies which have been very successful. One of them I sold. Another one I still operate in. I have a custom cabinet company in Los Angeles, one of the largest in Southern California. And it's also given me a lot of opportunities to travel. I've lived in Hawaii. I've taught art for many years. And, my art career is actually going really well despite this COVID. I mean, it's just I feel like I'm thriving. I just can't even believe it. It's amazing. I'll tell you, I certainly haven't gotten by on my good looks. It's my Okay.
I can empathize with that, Todd.
Yeah. I thought I was speaking to George Clooney. I didn't know that.
I gotta ask, like, the entrepreneur, because that's something a lot of people don't think about with artists, but like every artist is really an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that journey like? When you're talking about like being a creative person.
Well, I was I had a pretty successful art career between the mid '80s to through the '90s, and I developed kind of an anxiety disorder, which made it very difficult for me to be alone. And because I was kind of a hippie, I was into the Grateful Dead, and I did a lot of traveling, saw like 100 shows. My friends tell me that I had a great time at every one, and I was able to get away from my art and go into business, which gave me the opportunity to be involved with people on a daily basis, which was the start of being able to alleviate my anxieties. And it was great. I actually started a candy business, became one of the larger candy vending companies in the United States.
Wow.
We were in 26. Yeah, we were in 26 states, and I was able to sell that baby. Haven't missed it for 1 second of one day, but had it for about 18 years. And my cabinet company's still going strong as well. Really pretty amazing. And gives me a roof over my head and pays the bills. But my art actually is what pays my bills. So.
By the way, as a fellow fan of the Grateful Dead, I actually saw them their last show in St. Louis before he passed away. I was a kid at the time, but I got to go with my family. I was just curious. So you've been to so many of these shows. How do you think the Jerry Garcia or the Grateful Dead in general, how have they influenced your art?
Oh, they've influenced my work in many regards. I think my work has a lot of psychedelia in it. Ironically, it's funny, when I was a kid, I was asked what my favorite color was, and I said psychedelic. So I've been pretty consistent through life. And I was pretty influenced by that, growing up in the 60s, I think. And not only visually, but musically. And I think that you can see a lot of kind of like trippiness and a lot of colors in my work, which go back right to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that they haven't been a huge inspiration to me, as well as music in general.
Yeah.
Oh, very, very cool. And I've had a chance to check out some of your work, and it's like phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
You definitely see the parade of colors.
Yeah, thank you.
But you also use like different mediums. I mean, maybe you could share with our audience more about how you make these choices, or what inspires you to start a project.
In my work, I work primarily with hard edge, opaque color, and I work three-dimensionally. And because I work with boxes, I work with three-dimensional structures. I love the composition of boxes. They're very simple. I think that they have we were talking about that recently with some people, how a box is very much like home. We play with boxes as children, whether or not they're Legos or whether or not they're Lincoln Logs. I'm still playing with boxes. And there's also a lot of diversity with the structure of boxes. You can turn them into wall sculptures. You can turn them into functional art. You can turn them into coffee tables. You can turn them into just about virtually anything. And I love the diversity of that. And because I own a cabinet company, it provides me these amazing wood boxes that I would not be able to be able to do what I'm doing if I didn't have that.
You mentioned also, by the way, to go back to what you said earlier, you said that you developed this disorder where you said you couldn't be alone. If you could, I haven't heard something like that before. If you could talk to us a little bit about what that was like, what happened?
Well, that was really challenging for me because as an artist and as a hippie on a yuppie income, I guess you could say, I didn't really have the skills necessary to delegate responsibility. And because I didn't have those skills, which is really important as to be able to kind of like delegate work to other people, I was alone in my studio a lot. And because I was alone in my studio a lot, it got a little, I found myself kind of inundated with anxiety a lot. And I didn't have the skills at the time to be able to kind of like shake myself out of it, kind of like to let it go. And it was just overwhelming, and it became really debilitating for me. And I was able to, go into business, which was really the start of being able to. And I put away my art for about 10 years, which I didn't want to do because I loved it. Well, I have to say that I put it away as a means of making a living. I continued to always make art. I just didn't show it. And but now I'm pretty much better.
Oh, good.
Wow. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
I mean, but that's also going to be tough that, I know you're so passionate about your craft.
Yeah.
That to even not be able to share it for 10 years, I mean, that also must have been agonizing.
It really wasn't. I liken it to being a musician who decides to take a little bit of time off, but always takes their guitar wherever they go. I was cool. In fact, it was fine. It was great. I enjoyed being a business, and I enjoyed the camaraderie of having a business partner as well as employees. It was very interesting. I was able to travel all the time, and I always continued to make art. It was great. And then when I sold the candy business, I went, just jump back into my art career. And so I've been able to do it twice. It's kind of amazing because you're not even supposed to be able to do it once. Yeah.
That's great. And so with the art, going back to art for a moment here, what is it that you want to evoke in people when they see your art, when they experience it? What is it that you're trying to convey?
What I'm typically trying to convey is I have a very basic premise for my work. And I use a musical metaphor, I guess you could say, which is I think of art as needing to be pretty. Not a lot of, not everybody has the same definition, but these are my definitions. So I think I want my work to be balanced and beautiful. A musical metaphor would be, I think music and a song needs to have a melody. So that would be my first one. My second one would be, I think it's important to say something with my work. And if you can do it, if you can say something, just like having a meaningful lyric and say something in a beautiful manner, I think you can have a beautiful song. But if you want to say something profound, like maybe like Bob Marley's Redemption Song, or maybe like John Lennon, Imagine, et cetera, then if you can do something beautiful and also say something profound, that would be where I would like to, I think that would be very much a place that I would like to go as often as possible, but I'm always happy just to make something pretty. And balanced.
You're talking to a guy that can barely handwrite, let alone draw or sketch or do some of these things. I mean, to me, it's like you've got a magic power to do this, and the fact that you can draw out, really strong emotions, messages in people, I think is wonderful. And I wish I something I could do, like just being able to maybe draw or sketch something. But I mean, how do you do it? I mean, like what inspires you? I mean, what triggers this idea for your next project?
Well, I have so many ideas that I don't even know where to begin. But I would say that, where does inspiration come from? Inspiration comes from life. It comes from nature. It comes from music. It comes from laughter. It comes from God. It comes from your spiritual practice. It comes from your family. It comes from looking at other artists. It comes from being out on a beautiful day. It comes from rollerblading. It can come from kayaking. It can come from anywhere. We get inspiration from everywhere, So I get my inspiration from hanging out with my friends and having a beer. Sometimes you get the best ideas imaginable.
I've heard the best ideas always start at a bar.
That's right. That's right. A man after my own heart.
Todd, you mentioned meditation. You do that twice a day. You mentioned the spiritual practice. I think that's really interesting. Would you enlighten our listeners? Tell us a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, it means a whole hell of a lot. I meditate in the morning and I meditate at night. I do a lot of reading. I follow the works of Paramahansa Yogananda. He's very important to me and has been for the better part of probably 20 something years. What do if I was to grade myself on my meditation, I would say that it's probably best not to grade ourselves, because I've been meditating a long time and I still have like a monkey mind, right?
Yeah.
But what meditation does is it's like a magical kind of, I think it just makes space in ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when it makes space, it allows more of the universe to come into us. So I would say that I'm a very open person. I like to stay as open as possible. So my metaphor for that would be something like, I'm a spider and I cast as large a web as possible. Mm-hmm. And so if you are open, and ideas might be coming at us at every moment of the day, and maybe something will tickle you way up there at the end of your spider web, and you're like, oh man, that's great, I'm going to eat tonight. But if we go through life kind of constricted and myopic, we're not going to be receptive and open, and we're not going to, I think that the more receptive and grateful we are, the more that the universe, we're in a place of, I like to be in a place of receptivity and openness. And I think that that's why I have, it really works for me. I try to let go as often as possible. Let go, let go, let go, let go. And I try to surrender to, the grace of the universe. So for example, if we have say, for example, God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, has the intelligence to be able to take like a tiny atom and turn it into a human being. I mean, it's a heck of a lot smarter than I am. So I just give myself up to the intelligence of the universe. It seems to be working out. Yeah.
I love that. And I practice meditation twice a day. I think I have the same problem that you do. Yeah. There have been times where I have gone deep, but generally, it's hard to get there. But I think what the importance of it is just the fact it's a practice.
Yes.
Get into that place. I did it this morning. I can't say that it was perfect by any means, but I agree with what you're saying about it gets you away from that place of being in reactive mode. It puts you in a place where you're open. And in fact, I was on a podcast yesterday and talking about that. That's I guess if I had a superpower or secret weapon, it would be that meditation, because of what you mentioned before, because it feels as if you put life on pause and then you get into this other frame of mind, and more things seem to come, more opportunities seem to come your way. And that seems to speak to that benevolence from the universe you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, how do you describe what meditation does for you? It is a practice. The more you practice, it's a practice.
Right.
The most important thing is to continue to practice it.
Yeah.
I can only say that, the proof is in the pudding, which is life is good. I can't say that meditation hasn't had a huge part in that play. I mean, it just has. Mm-hmm. I don't even. Yeah, it's a very subtle art.
Yes.
Yes.
Todd, I think you're living proof that I would say life isn't about your mindset, your attitude, and I think you've transcended what a lot of people suffer from, is they have a challenge like I can only control or influence so much, and it drives them batty sometimes that there are things beyond that sphere of influence. I mean, have you always been like this, like a child, or was there like a trigger point in your life where you kind of realized this? I mean, how did you evolve this way?
Well, it's a funny thing. First of all, I've been writing. I've been writing for the better part of 45 years, I guess you could say, consistently. But I think it was Picasso or some great artist said, we spend our lives becoming adults only to try to get back to being children or something of that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there's I don't know how this has all happened. I'm still constantly amazed on a daily basis at the beauty and magic of life. And I genuinely feel like gratitude and appreciation are a muscle that the more you try to stay in a place of gratitude and appreciation, the better you get at it, to the point where everything you see. I'm so grateful to be on this podcast, for example, and to meet the both of you. I really am. I mean, this is fabulous. And when you're in that place, I think you really are in a state of receptivity. Say that 3 times fast. And, I did, and I completely screwed it up. So I really do believe in the great masters of all time have all said, gratitude and appreciation are, practically step 1 and 2. And, it's like a muscle. You get better at it the more you, and hopefully we get to a point where it's just automatic.
Yeah. I was at the park yesterday with my wife, and we had our 2 kids, and we were talking to a mom, and she had a daughter that was not there, and she's 13. And the mom was saying that the girl is really sad and depressed right now, and she can't figure out what to do with her. Because of COVID, she can't really go see her friends. She's not interested in going to the beach with her family. She just kind of sits in her room all day, and it's really weighing heavily on that mom. And I wonder, with your background, especially we're talking about gratitude and being an artist, what would you tell, let's say there's an aspiring young person that wants to do what you do, but at this point in time, they're having trouble feeling grateful. They're having trouble feeling open to the universe. What would you tell them to help them get out of that place, that dark place?
I would say to start doing something creative, and to a lot of times I've talked to people about this kind of thing many times in my life, where people will come to my studio and they'll see what I do, which is kind of inspiring, and they'll say, I don't know what I love to do. Well, what do you like to do? If you can figure out what you like to do, love is like one of these words that's chock full of, power, but you might not be able to figure that out. So let's just move into a thing that we like. Mm-hmm. And that's a good step in the right direction. And so if I would say, what do you like to do? What are things that you like? And let's figure out a way to start being creative. Mm-hmm. Because creativity, if you give people the opportunity, whether or not it's, if you give people 3 choices. What do you want? Do you want more recognition at work? Do you want a better title? Or would you like more creativity? Many people will say creativity, and to be recognized for it. So creativity puts us in a state of timelessness. And if we can get ourselves into a state of timelessness, we can sort of forget about our sadness. Mm-hmm. And that's a good direction to move in, I think.
I think that's a really powerful advice. But I'm going to challenge it a bit, because there's actually an entrepreneurial coach that says, don't do what you love, right? You may not actually be good at what you love. You should do what you're good at. That's what you should pursue as your passion in life, right? And if you're really good at something, you'll wind up eventually loving it if you don't do it right away.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're saying that, just to get up down the start of this, see what you like, what you can do, experiment, right?
Experiment, exactly. Yeah, it's there's also people who will say things like, never do what you love for a living, because if you wind up because you can wind up not liking it, which can be heartbreaking. I think as just a start, instead of trying to figure out what you love, which is very, very difficult, just figure out what you like and just move in that direction, and just try to be creative. I had a mental block when I moved to Hawaii. I had a creative block, the first one I ever had. And a good friend of mine that was living there with me, he said, I couldn't get myself out of it. It was so weird and so, it was unprecedented. He said, grab that hammer, grab those nails, get that piece of linoleum, take that rock, grab that dirt, and he was just like, I was just being bombarded with all this stuff, and then God, it worked. It was so weird, but it actually shook me out of whatever the hell I was in. But yeah.
I gotta ask, Todd, with all those items there, what did you actually make?
Oh my God, that is really funny. I make nothing. What I did was I created without judgment. And so very often when I'm making art, I want to make something nice, and I'm sort of making sure that it turns out good. In that case, I just tried to, he was suspending my judgment on what I was making, and I think that self-judgment is a very much an obstacle to a lot of people creating. Yeah. Because they don't think they're good at it.
And I think even going back to that 13-year-old girl, obviously I'm not a girl, and I'm not dealing with teenage problems. But I think that at that age, I remember how I felt at 12 and 13 years old. There's a lot of self-judgment. And I think also the culture that we live in on social media, where we're almost required to be out in front in the public eye, that promotes more criticism. So I think what you're suggesting is really valid, because you can just get out of your own way. Just throw yourself into something.
That's correct. Yes, we need to somehow get out of our own way, and whatever that takes. One of the reasons I decided to become an artist, I had this certain wisdom that well, I don't know where it came from, but it was just an understanding that when I was a kid, whenever I spent time making art, the whole day would disappear. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I was in this state of timelessness. That was sort of the way I looked at it. And then when I decided to be an artist, my first thoughts, be an artist and devote myself to it. My first thoughts were, one, I'd rather struggle doing what I love than making money doing something I didn't. Mm-hmm. But my other thought was, I don't know what this state of timelessness means, but I know that it's good. And when I talk about timelessness, what I'm really saying is I'm just not aware of anything other than what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And that's what meditation should hopefully, that would be I very, very, very rarely get there in meditation, but we can all aspire.
Well, it sounds like you found your zone, your passion, Todd, which is awesome. If people want to learn more about you, see some of your work, see what you're up to, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
My website would be toddgray.com. TODD. The first D is silent. Or on my Instagram, which is ToddGray_studios. And let's see what else. I don't know. You can call me at 818-49.
Todd, it's a joy to have you on today. You're a breath of fresh air. We really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for coming on, sharing your story, Todd. It's been awesome.
You guys, I love you both. Thank you so much. This is really nice of you. It's very, I had a good time too. And I'd really like to meet you in real life.
Us too.
So, yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Hey, if you like today's show, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment.
If you've been enjoying the Changing the Story podcast series, please subscribe and share it with your friends.
Thank you.